Sports. When you've got a great ball club. Sports. When you're leaving it all on the field. Sports. When you like your team's chances. Sports. To survive and advance in sports. For the teams you love and the teams you love to hate. Oh, it's Sports Channel 8. Yeah. Sports Channel 8. Hey. Hey. Hey.
That is the greatest theme song in all of sports broadcasting, programming, streaming, whatever it is. This is Sports Channel 8, the streaming show. That is Super Chuck. Brian Geisinger, Big Swain joining me. We are going 7 rounds deep on a mock draft. Swain, you'll be playing the part of the Jets, Jaguars, Patriots. I'm going to divide up the division. Everybody's going to have one team from each division, and then you'll make an NFL draft pick, 2 NFL, then a Star Wars, then your favorite food, and then artists that can make a former basketball team. Now we're not doing any not doing any mock drafts, and I just saw Swain's name and BG's name. Are you going on vacation, BG?
No, this is the famous like saying around the NBA. It's like when a team's season ends. The last like post game huddle where instead of going like 1, 2, 3 team, like 1, 2, 3, believe or whatever. 1, 2, 3 Cancun.
Is it rooted in actual did some star actually do this?
Yes, I think it was something that was in fact like birthed in an NBA locker room and has now become like a meme basically.
There's nothing greater than dude giving it all and as long as we're in this thing, you're getting everything I have. And as soon as it is over, I am completely not could not be out of here faster. I'm not hanging around. I don't want to watch tape. Yeah. Let's go. My question tomorrow, and I'm only starting with the NFL draft because we're not going to talk about it. Are we going full Jets fan, regardless of what happens when the Panthers step up to make their 6th pick? Are we just booing? For 20 years, whoever the pick was, it felt like the Jets booed them. Are we just booing whatever pick the Panthers make just to voice our displeasure?
I mean, I'm going to boo if they make a pick, right? The only smart thing that you can do is trade back. Right? In any draft, any sport, unless you have Andrei Svechnikov that you can draft at number 2, trade back in the draft.
So it's like war game. The only way to win is to not play.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do remember. I think I've talked about this before, but back in the day, I played Madden not to try and go 10-6 and win my division, and I wasn't playing on easy mode. I was playing on a harder mode, but I still wanted to amass all the talent and win 48-0, and then maybe have a close game in the Super Bowl. But the strategy was all about the draft, trading for future picks all the time, and so I'd start every year with 4 draft picks, but then 4 first round draft picks, but still I knew who the best dudes were, and I was a big trade back guy.
But you can't tell me that a conditional first round pick in 2023, right? If that's who we get end up in the first round, you can't tell me a conditional first rounder in 2023 is going to throw maybe 5 less touchdowns than Sam Darnold this year. So
yes, exactly.
It's just money ball, right? And you don't have to pay for that, right? You don't have to pay for that. You can get other positions. But and that's what you have to look at. They're not going to throw any interceptions, right? They're not going to miss games due to injury, so they're already better than Christian McCaffrey. And at worst, you're going to get 5 fewer touchdown passes,
and they'll be a lot cheaper too. So I hear Swain advocating for the Panthers to take Sam Howell in the 3rd round. It sounds like, and turn him into Russell Wilson. All right, back to teams that are actually doing well in the Carolinas. The Canes clinched another division last night. How many is this? 3 divisions in 3 years that we win now? Whatever division they put us in, we win it, correct?
No, it's 2 in a row, but it's 2 different divisions, right? So now the Canes have won championships in 3 different
Okay. 2 in a row, but overall we've won the division in 3 different names.
Yeah, because we used to be in the old Southeast, right? So we won the Southeast back in the day. won the Central last year, and then won the Metro this year. So next year, I think we need to be in the Atlantic and win that one too.
Conquering all kinds of territories. This is imperialism by Rob Moore in Carolina.
It's the Dundon way, honestly.
Yeah, really.
Do we have to beat these teams, or can we just buy them? Like, how would that work? All right, I'd want to let everyone know Moose was actually serving a suspension. He was not starting for this. It was a classic, non-suspension. He was not allowed to start for this game. But now that we're making our first substitutions, we will bring in the Moose. Moose, try and keep it clean up there, okay?
I got you today, baby.
We can talk Canes if we want. A little life came at us last night, and I missed this in real time, so I was sort of catching up on the fly, but it's been discussed publicly, and I see that he's actually tweeted today. But Trip Tracy basically been the color guy since the Canes have been in North Carolina, and a well-known dude, a guy who kind of upped his profile after Forsland left. It felt like he needed to take a little bit of the weight off of Maniscalco as far as being like the not just serving the role as play-by-play and color guy, but like sort of, spokesperson for the team type guy. Started doing the digging in Trip. And last night there were some odd tweets that started out that looked like he was talking about having a drinking problem. People weren't sure if it was a joke, if it was a mistake, whatever. Jokes were being made, but then it became a sort of real life moment when word started getting around that it was a real deal thing, that he had either checked himself or been checked into rehab. I don't have any good question other than what was your reaction? Let's go down.
Point where that point that you're doing it in terms of like problem, and it's like a deflection, right? Like this is a very productive and mature and professional way to go about it, and so like you're glad on that point of view. But yeah, I think you nailed it, man. Like for someone that's followed the Canes forever since they moved here, Tripp was always like the clown to Forsland's straight man, right? And like we know Maniscalco and we know his personality, and he's a great play-by-play guy, but he's also a funny, like big personality kind of guy. And I think Tripp switched it up with Maniscalco and became more of a, he's still, funny and entertaining, but like more of an analyst and more of a, let me teach you the audience, not Maniscalco, but teach you about the intricacies of the game. And he's done a really good job with that. And he's one of the best, analysts that we've seen on any broadcast. And thoughts are with him, and hope he's back soon and gets done what he needs to get done.
But Geisinger or Moose, any other reactions? Sorry, I don't have good probing questions. But I saw it go down.
I didn't know about this until a couple of minutes ago when you brought it up.
Interesting.
I'm not super plugged into Hurricanes and hockey Twitter.
Yeah.
Outside of like following Swain and the Hurricanes official account. But yeah, like it's I hope Tripp's doing okay. And it seemed like this tweet he put out this morning, like he was still being like kind of hard on himself for being, I think he used the word distraction, which like I hope he doesn't have any sort of like actual guilt or anything like that. I mean, this shit happens, and it's tough. And I think all of us, probably know people, friends, family, colleagues, whomever that's been through some issues with abusing substances, and it's tough. It can be tough on a lot of people. Yeah. So it's at least, I guess, like just like Ben said, it's encouraging to an extent that he can be like vulnerable and be out and be public about this stuff. And it's most important that he knows that he can get help's available, and then he has a support system around him. What I've learned from being around people that have had these types of issues is that it can be an ongoing thing. Like it's a process. And so to make sure that he knows that he's got people have his back, not just the organization, but certainly the organization, but the fans who adore him and any friends, family, like he means a lot to this region in terms of sports. So, but on a human level, you want to make sure that someone like that is taking care of themselves and getting the help that they deserve. So, again, I feel for being public about it and taking the necessary steps to address the problem too.
Moose, anything to add?
Well, you know, out here in Joko Perm, we've got all the vices in the world, and everybody's got some level of something going on. But to BG's point, to Swain's point, the fact that Tripp is doing this like on his own and of his own volition is probably the best news that you could see in this situation. I've been on the other side of that coin, not me personally, but my family, as BG mentioned, where it's a problem when the person doesn't realize that there's an issue, and then it's a real big fight, and it causes a lot of issues down the line. So the fact that Tripp is doing this, is aware and taking measures to correct it is good to see.
One thing that I think is interesting, and this kind of pertains to Sports Channel 8, I feel like we will walk a fine line sometimes in this thing where I think it's good. Society is better now and increasingly better. Certainly with alcohol, we're getting there with like drugs and stuff of treating it as not a non-issue, not this isn't a problem, but like not judgment of the person, right? Like this is a behavioral thing that as a society, we should try and put more things in place to support and fix. There's also the side, because I saw this kind of going on Twitter, like people who had jokes, either some people got mad that there were jokes, they felt like they needed to apologize for their jokes. And like, I don't know. It's a fine line, right? Like if I went on right now, I wouldn't even think of making a Tripp Tracy drinking joke because it seems wildly inappropriate, right? At the same time, when it's somebody not as like we're fine making Mark Few got a DUI, right? And again, sometimes that public shaming on bad decisions is sometimes a good thing. But I don't know, like I felt like both need to coexist, right? Like I think I'm not going down a total like cancel culture comedy discussion, but I do think there's a world where it's like jokes can still be made about things that are sensitive topics, even as we grow and do better job of treating these sensitive topics. Does that make sense? Like, again, anybody who came on this morning and wanted to make a Tripp Tracy drinking joke is wildly inappropriate and ill-timed, but that doesn't mean like, well, we should never joke about anybody getting a DUI or anything about somebody over drinking or whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm not looking for necessarily an answer there. It just, I feel like both things can happen. We don't have to stop ever making a joke about serious issues while we get better about how we handle these serious issues in society.
Yeah, I'm definitely still making cocaine jokes about the Caps, but especially when you're talking about someone like Tripp Tracy, who humor is probably part of the healing process, right? Like it's if you are doing it to ruin somebody, then that's kind of out of bounds, right? But if you're doing it to, hey, you're still Tripp, you're still like the same guy that no matter what, we're gonna always joke around with you. Like that probably helps a person like Tripp through something like this. Yep. And so I'm with you. I think it's all about reading the room and reading the person and kind of reading the intent behind it. I think what bothers me more that you see all the time in sports is like the concern trolling, right? Like if you let's say like the Montreal guy, right? Like the Montreal guy that's been like anti-Hurricanes all year.
Right.
He's never cared about alcohol abuse ever in his entire life. And then this happens and he's like, oh, he should be banned from the game. Like this is terrible. And caring too much about like that bothers me more than I'm going to make a couple jokes about it and move on. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's the kind of stuff that pisses me off when people use rivalries to like push agendas that they don't care about.
Sure.
That is actually disgusting. Like if that is happening.
Cane's Twitter is an interesting place, man. BG talked about not being in there at all. I'm in there like 10 or so percent. Every now and then I'll find somebody, and there's this group of people that like they're only on Twitter just to talk to other Canes fans, right? And you'll see somebody they only have like 150 followers be like, yo, this guy's like pretty funny, but like all he does is jump on during games and like tweet about Canes stuff and like interact with other Canes people. But like I'm sure there's like a dark, terrible side of that community, but fortunately, most of the things that like end up getting promoted or liked, and that's how they end up in my timeline, are like, these are just like the people. It's the people that you wouldn't necessarily go to a bar to, but you're like, man, I hope these people are sitting next to me at the bar when I go to watch a Canes game, right? It's like that type of people. And so there was multiple. There was like dude getting dragged for tweet he sent in October, being like, can't wait for the Canes to like not even make the playoffs this year. I'll be at that 82nd game to applaud their terrible finish. And like Canes Twitter was like, yo, dude, I got an extra for you Thursday night. Come get this, dude. Like, and I have no doubt that somebody would, if that guy showed up, somebody will absolutely buy that guy a ticket and probably buy him a beer and be super nice to him in person just to troll the dude, And so I thought that was awesome. And then I don't even know who the guy was, but randomly, I think it was maybe the guy that Swain was mentioning or something similar, like, dude was jumping in, talking about, now it was all the Canes do on the forecheck is hold, grab, and slash, and now their broadcasters are drunk too, the whole whatever. Like, I don't even know how this guy got found because he's like in California with no followers, but Canes Twitter's like, let's go, dude, let's go. You want like, and now he's tweeting, he's like, oh, Canes Twitter is so sensitive, like. Are they, or is it you that is too sensitive? And we were just having fun with it, So.
No, they went through that with Scott Darling too, right? Because like a lot of people had things to say about Scott Darling, and they Canes Twitter stood up for him. And I would say that the two things that bother Canes Twitter the most are when people cross that line in making fun of people that have like abuse issues and addictions, and Tony D'Angelo.
Yes. All right. Next up, we already did the Panthers draft. Thank goodness. One of the sub slots.
Last thing I would say is it's like, look, this stuff is tough to go through in general. It can't be easy to be like not just like a public figure, but like a broadcaster. You know what I mean? Someone who like is a personality. 100 nights out of the year, or whatever, on camera with the microphone. I think like a year or so ago, ESPN's, Todd McShay, this was like he started, he's back now, but he was taken off of like broadcast and went out and got help and seems to be doing better and is back. And I assume he'll be in Las Vegas for ESPN's draft coverage later this week, which salute to him. ESPN also needs him there because Mel Kiper is a dummy that didn't get the vaccine. So
look at it this way. We've seen this, and the four of us are in no way anywhere close to Trip Tracy's level. So let me just say that right there. But we're out at a restaurant, or we're out at a bar, or we're walking past a tailgate. What's the one thing that everyone says to us once they recognize who we are? Hey, come have a beer, right? Or like, that one's on. Let me buy this guy a beer, whatever.
Yeah.
How many Canes fans do you think do that to Trip Tracy?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure when he's out, like a lot, like, and again, I think also like the lifestyle of being a broadcaster where you're on the road X number of nights, like a lot, like a couple dozen or so. That just lends itself to like bar nightcaps, drink at the room.
I go to the airport like twice a year now, and I always get on the plane housed.
Yeah.
Right? If I were at an airport like 50 times a year, it would not be a good, because you're like, all right, we're gonna kill an hour. What else? What are you gonna do in this airport? Like, yeah, it's a lifestyle that. And I was gonna say,
no, it's true. Like Hayes cannot get on a plane without an alcoholic beverage, sort of like Madison Cawthorn can't get on a plane without a gun.
Yeah.
I knew a joke was coming. I should not have.
Very similar.
Look,
I couldn't even get on a plane now without a gun. I mean,
I'll put the OJ on the plane. I just need to take this Corbell on.
Think about that guy. Like, that guy goes out to a bar and like people come up to him like, hey, here, have a gun, right? Like,
hey, have some lingerie. Put this on. But no, to echo Swain's point, not only fans, but like I'm sure players and like full other broadcaster. And Trip probably markets himself. I mean, he authentically markets himself as like fun dude, right?
Yeah, so there's no marketing with like
exactly. That's what I mean.
I don't know him that well, but I know a lot of people who know him really well, and they all say like he's the best dude in the world. And Yeah.
But obviously everyone's in agreement. I hope he gets better. It's an interesting thing. Like I've talked to my sister who stayed blinders on to becoming a doctor, right? And didn't see things. And a couple years ago, she went back with her husband to his elite private school reunion or whatever. And she was like, dude, there was one morning, the schedule of things going on. She was like, one morning there was an AA meeting, for the reunion. And she was like, I thought that was weird. And I was like, I don't think that's weird at all. That's the school.
Awesome, actually.
Yeah, that's the school realizing that they probably were a starting point and a breeding ground for many of the problems. And I mean, it goes without saying, but if you go into an AA meeting in anywhere, go in any city, you're going to see two homeless people, a judge, a doctor that may or may not have operated before you. And it's, that it doesn't, it's not a comment on them as people other than it's people trying to improve themselves. So I will say, not speaking about Trip specifically, but of my experience with friends who've dealt with it, AA is more of a problem solver than rehab. Rehab can is a great pause button, but AA is the big problem solver from my personal experience. I'm sure rehab's worked for people, but it's interesting the people who know nothing about this happens all the time, and folks who, if you know about it, then you know that it's way bigger than you think and reaches way more people. And there's more people both struggling with it and thriving in their recovery that may have happened 10 years ago. Anyway, that's a lot of life talk for a sports conversation. All right. The only thing more dangerous than bringing up how UNC and Duke recruit and put people in the NBA on Sports Channel 8 is bringing up Chris Paul. So I don't bring him up to try and start any drama, but one of the biggest storylines of the first round series, and it happens to be another ACC player, has been the CP3 versus Jose Alvarado. Brian Geisinger, are you enjoying this? Are you enjoying this matchup more than Chris Paul is?
I don't think so. It's been the series has been great. I can enjoy it from that perspective, but as a Chris Paul partisan, it's tough to see him get the Patrick Davison defense thrown at him, but by NBA athletes. It's guys with actual basketball skill and length. So it's been Alvarado, but it's also been Herb Jones, who's incredible. And but Chris had a good game last night, and the Suns won pretty convincingly. So mostly, I just like to see I'd have no issue with the defense that's being thrown at Chris Paul. It's good legal defense, but I just wish both teams were at full strength. Seeing the series without Devin Booker or without Zion, you're it just leave. There's a what could be aspect, and Phoenix is a team that can definitely contend for the title, but it's not without. Devin Booker was a top 7 or 8 guy in the league this season. So it's they're not just missing a good player or an all-star. They're missing an elite guy that really makes their stuff work offensively. So, but big win last night. Mikal Bridges had an awesome game. Former Villanova Wildcat, 31 points, great defense on UNC legend CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram, who would have played at UNC if not for, I guess, the News and Observer or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whomever else was trying to bring down UNC when they were still winning 80% of their games in national championships. But yeah, so game 6 now it will be in New Orleans, and that makes for I kind of feel like this is going back to Phoenix for game 7, just because it's been so rowdy in New Orleans. And unless you get a masterpiece from Chris Paul, which is tough because he's getting dogged by some really good defenders, then it's just going to be tough. Brandon Ingram's playing terrific basketball right now. It seems to be making a leap of sorts. But no, to answer your initial question, I'm not really enjoying the experience of watching, again, good NBA defenders just take out my favorite player.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying
not a fun viewing experience necessarily.
I mean, going back to what we just talked about, I'm not enjoying it because clearly Chris Paul is addicted to just being a shithead on the basketball court. So being a cheap shot artist and just an all around dirty player, clearly it's not him choosing to do it. it's chemical, right? And so I hope he gets the help he needs.
Wait, Swain's saying something mean about a thing I like. I need to go pretend that my kid has COVID and leave the show and maybe not show up actually for a couple of days here.
No, he didn't have COVID. I had to go prove that he didn't have COVID.
Sure, yeah. Whatever you say.
Was Alvarado ACC Player of the Year? I forget.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
Moses Wright was the Player of the Year last season. What a year for Georgia Tech, man.
I'd forgotten about Moses Wright. Where is he? Did he make a roster?
He was on he was bouncing around in the G League this year.
I totally forgot about
who was coach of the year last year.
Mike Young, baby.
What
a year for the ACC a season ago.
I will say there's something about. I'm sure it hasn't happened every time, but I love nothing more than when an ACC Player of the Year gets like undrafted or is like not considered a great pick, especially if it's a year where the ACC like had a good year and you watch this person play and you're like, this is a good player. And I remember like Jared Dudley. I'm almost positive he was ACC Player of the Year, and then people are like, this guy's kind of short and pudgy. No way he plays in the NBA. And like I know people don't like to. People think it's
awesome.
stupid. I know, but I have conference pride. I have ACC pride. I will be cheering ACC at college football playoffs where Clemson beats Alabama. I'm that guy. But I'm like, when I see Jared Dudley playing well, I'm like, right, okay, he won at UNC and beat Duke at home this year. And he scored 30. This guy's not a scrub. Josh Howard was another one. I don't remember what Josh Howard was drafted.
2003.
What was he? Do you remember where he was drafted?
Last pick of the first round.
Okay, last pick of the first round. And I just remember being like, I swear this guy's better than this because I saw him play in the ACC, and so I know he's good.
Let me tell you how mad little young version of Brian was that night when Dante Jones, who like months, you want to talk about cheap shots, months removed from breaking Justin Gray's jaw, getting picked ahead of Josh Howard in the first round, who at the time was my favorite player. Yeah, that was not a fun night. But I was happy, obviously, to see Josh.
But there's
in the first round.
That's actually a good draft question. Do we really care? Like, is that something that exists in rivalry talk? Is so and so got drafted ahead of so and so? Is that a thing?
I don't.
I mean, I know you're a big draft guy.
I think people will grab anything that supports their favorite team is better than their rival. You know what I mean? So that maybe isn't like a popular one, but I'm certain it's been used before.
It's an in the moment one. Like at the time, it feels like a big deal, but it doesn't hold up. Like over time, you're not like, oh, and in the moment, and I also identify with BG of like in the moment, and when I was 15, things might have been different. It'd be like, screw this, you guys. It's like whatever,
I feel like a draft is not a ranking of players, right? Like it all has to do with what that team specifically needs,
or like what a player projects to be. I mean, so much is so many teams are drafting on. That was honestly like one of the knocks against Josh Howard. It was like he was a 4-year player and like good at everything, but a master of none. And that was sort of like. But it is funny, like. The 2003 NBA first round of the draft was bookended by 2 All-Stars, LeBron James at 1 and Josh Howard with the last pick of the first round. So it's like that is an all-time draft, you know what I mean? So that's also probably why he actually fell a little bit. But yeah, like teams draft off need, teams draft off like whatever their crazy owner tells them to do. Like there's like and also like very smart teams draft off of potential and how guys can fit into the league and how they can develop these guys. So like when all of those things are competing against one another, it can certainly lead to like randomness in terms of like who's going where.
I also feel like, and tell me if you think this is something that happens. I feel like if you pick later than another team, right? And there's a guy that you want, like I want this guy when I'm picking at number 19, and I'm concerned that the team that's picking at 15 might also like this guy. That I might use some back channels to float some stuff about like he had a bad interview, he had a bad workout with us, something along those lines. So that team will pass, and then they get to you, and you're like, yeah, I'll take him.
Yeah.
Is that something that happens frequently?
I have no clue, but like it would not. It certainly would not surprise me. It's like given what is at stake, and it's like I guess you theoretically could try to trade up if you have like the stuff to do it, to like guarantee that you would get that person. But as we discussed, like trading up is often like at least in the NBA, I'm sure this applies in a lot of other drafts too, like just not, generally speaking, like not good to like give away draft picks to like move up or whatever. So yeah, if this was like a by any means necessary thing, I guess you could. The only thing is it's like, at least in the NBA, all of those first round picks and their salaries, they're slotted. Like you and I could look up right now what the salary, first year salary, the second year salary is going to be for the 19th pick into the 2024 draft and the 17th pick or whatever. So like, if you do that, you're also taking money out of a guy's pocket. So maybe you would be less likely to do that. I'm not entirely sure, but that would be like the kind of like, I mean, it's shady for a variety of reasons, but that's where it's like, yeah, you're actually costing someone hundreds of thousands.
He's not buying my groceries. I don't care how much money he makes. I want him on my team.
But yeah, so when I watch Alvarado, there's something about, and also, can you picture what Josh Pastner looks like watching Jose Alvarado play?
Just like sitting in his man cave with his face shield on, just like
he's like bouncing off the wall, like here he goes. We did not get spicy last night, but I'm pretty sure we got a speedy Jose Alvarado, which, I mean, come on, like Speedy Alvarado, that's real close to Speedy Gonzalez. And then we got another one that actually, Pesky, which I'm going to let slide. I don't think Pesky is ethnic. I think Pesky could be
anybody.
White, black, Hispanic. Yeah. I think a lot of people. So Pesky is that you can describe Jose Alvarado as Pesky. Speedy, be careful. Especially do not say Speedy Alvarado. You can say he's speedy. Do not say spicy or fiery. Those are off limits. Okay. But he is fun to watch. BG, I got another question for you. After we saw Chris Paul leave, Chris Paul, yes, absolutely. I want Kihei Clark to crush it because then I'll be like, that's an ACC dude. Not going to happen. Although, I mean, Kihei Clark should be watching Jose Alvarado of like, you want your chance to play 6 minutes a game in the NBA is that right there. Like that's
you also gain like 50 pounds of muscle, like very
knock people around.
You should transfer to Georgia Tech.
You should become defensive player of the year.
We all know Kihei Clark is not going to the NBA, boys.
No,
he's not.
What?
This is where he's going.
Stop.
We all know this.
Stop.
We all know this.
On the week when Muggsy Bogues went into the North Carolina Hall of Fame, we're going to Sports Hall of Fame. We're going to disrespect somebody because they're
don't compare those two. Don't you do that.
There was randomly some Rex Chapman. I guess he did an interview with Muggsy Bogues for his, I guess what was it, maybe a CNN Plus show, but now it's just a CNN show. I don't know how that. And like Rex was trying to like recreate how Muggsy would defend dudes. He's like, you think you can post this guy up, but it's not that easy. And like, I get what he was doing, but they were both doing it as like 50-year-olds. So like Muggsy would like put an arm in his back and Rex would be like, whoa, look at that. He's so strong. I can't do it. Like he's trying to demonstrate like what low center of gravity was, but it was like, wait a minute, but just stand still and have them throw the ball here. Like I don't get it. Chris Paul left New Orleans. Anthony Davis left New Orleans. New Orleans has not been a great place to play basketball, and it seems like stars don't want to play there. The story seemed to be going that Zion wanted out of New Orleans, but now if you look at a good young nucleus, is there any talk, or do you think this might keep Zion in New Orleans longer than we may have believed, sort of mid-season?
Yeah, right now I don't know, but like we'll definitely know more in a couple of months because like he is due for a potential contract extension this summer, right? Like this will be his third season in the NBA. Depending on how those negotiations go, maybe he has flipped or always was committed and just stuff got murky in terms of how it was presented in the media or whatever. But Zion has never come out and said like I don't want to be here. You know
sure.
What I mean? Like the only thing he ever said was like, "Wow, it's fun to dunk at Madison Square Garden." You know what I mean? People like the Knicks fans were like, he wants to come here. And I guess, RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish are both there now too. Just like also a funny element of it. But
I don't know. Did he tip this? Has this been years in the works? Did he tip this with Buckmeyer when he was asked? about playing for the Knicks and knew that he couldn't say yes because he knew that they were going to draft RJ and that he was going to end up there 2 years later.
Well, New York was trying to tank and get up to 1 that year. It just means funny. It's like, well, RJ's turned out to be incredible. So like 1, 2, 3 of the 2019 draft going Zion, John Morant, RJ Barrett, and then 4 at Darius Garland's looking to be pretty good, actually. Well done. All those guys are all-stars or going to be future all-stars. But if you're Zion, like, how could you not be excited by what you're seeing? It's like the crowd in the stadium, they've been absolutely juiced. Brandon Ingram's like taking a step. Like, those guys last season could never quite find like the right balance, like the perfect balance with one another. But Brandon Ingram is super good, and like he's just getting better. And like to think about Zion playing with Brandon Ingram and Herb Jones and CJ McCollum next season, like they can be like a high 40s, 50-win team next season. I think if everything goes right, and they could build like sustainably a like contender down there for a long time because Herb, Zion, Brandon Ingram is a hell of a nucleus. And yeah, I'll just be curious to see, like, but we'll know more, I guess, depending on how the extension talks go this summer with Zion. And I mean, look, even if he in New Orleans do come to terms on a max extension or whatever for a guy that literally didn't play this season, you know, I mean, he could theoretically always force his way out eventually. So it's not like even if he signs a 5-year extension this summer, doesn't mean like he's in New Orleans long term necessarily. Just given how this is all played out, it's impossible to say. But I got to think the vibes are so good there right now that there has to be some momentum for extension talks and for him, like, you know, really looking forward to getting back on the court next season.
And they also went out and signed friend of the program Aaron Summers this year. That was a huge,
huge trivia guest. Yeah.
I tweeted this, but watching Ingram reminds me of, like, oftentimes I play basketball with people who are better than I am, right? Like, there's plenty of people out there who are better, but a few times, especially when I was younger and used to play more where there were more college people around, you play against somebody who's like a legitimate college player, you know, a better athlete than everybody else on the field, right? On the court. And the most frustrating thing was to feel like you were in like pretty good guarding position or like hand in the face. And they would just jump and just be in the air like a second longer. And then it didn't even matter that they were coming down or had like jumped to the side. Always had the ability to just sort of like flip it. As long as they're within 4 feet of the rim, they can flip it from here, flip it from here, flip it from here. And it would just always went in. Like you could, you know, and they warm up. They look like they're doing it so nonchalantly. And that reminds me of Brandon Ingram sometimes. It's like he doesn't look like he's, you know, if Jose Alvarado looks like he's playing with his motor on a 10, like sometimes Ingram looks like it's a 6, but he takes like 2 long steps and then sort of hangs. And then he's like, all right, where are you? You're over here. All right, I'm just going to like throw it here. I don't know. That reminds me of him. You kind of saw him do it back in the day at the John Wall, and there it was like, you know, nobody could guard. But now it's like, all right, I'm going to jump a little bit higher, run a little bit faster, but really, nobody can really get to the ball here.
That was the knock on him at Duke, was like compete level and effort. And it's just because he's like 7 feet tall and weighs 100 pounds and he just move, like he's so efficient in his movement. But yeah, that's spot on, because I remember that's everything everybody talked about when he was a Duke.
It's like, yeah.
He has become such a I mean, he's still got like he's got a lot of room for growth, but like he does superstar shit every game now, you know, where it's like he'll be, you know, they will run pick and roll. Phoenix has 2 guys on the ball. He's able to, like, you know, hang dribble, create a little separation. Looks like he's going to hit the step back, you know, crossover, spin, get downhill and dunk on somebody. And it's just like, yeah, there aren't like a lot of people, especially at that size, that can do that. And like, again, he just continues to get better as a passer and a creator. And again, he can make it look easy, even among the best athletes in the world, because his skill level is so high. His handle is so good for someone that like tall and long. And he just has a jump shot that's like unblockable, given that he can kind of do like the Dirk and Durant, you know, spinning fadeaway stuff off a live dribble. He's ridiculous.
We've also in that series seen multiple. Oh no, not just that series, but in the first round we've seen multiple North Carolina beefs. We've seen Ingram getting into it with Chris Paul and saying, "Do you want to settle this outside?" And then we saw
the most instant thing of all time. It's incredible. It's like I wonder who this guy's who he modeled his game after. Meanwhile, Jerry Stackhouse is like sitting in a three-piece suit in the crowd.
And then like the next night, Hassan Whiteside kind of hard fouls somebody. I didn't even think it was like that bad. First dude in, Reggie Bullock ready to go. Like, that was Gastonia and Kinston, like, ready to go at each other. So
my favorite part of that video is there's like a drunken Mavs fan in the front row. And like, he definitely like gets up and is like, yeah, like, go, like, he's like cheering on the Mavs, like going at Hassan Whiteside. But it's like this crowd of very, very like large humans starts to get like, because like a fight, little kerfluffle is starting to break out, and the guy's sort of like, well, all right, guys, like I'm just gonna go back to my seat, my beer here. Like, this was fun for half a second, but now I'm like, I'm actually like afraid. I'm gonna go sit down.
I also love even like Stackhouse obviously has the reputation for like, when he gets mad, get out of the way, but like mostly not like used to sing the national anthem before the game, like mostly seen as like a gentlemanly dude. Ingram doesn't seem like a fighter. Like, that's not his reputation. Reggie Bullock is seen as like a sensitive, thoughtful, caring guy, right? But it's like, ultimately, when stuff goes down, we are from Kinston, and we will be here. Like, don't be confused by my, open progressive views on different things, and me being sensitive and talking about my life, or me not seeming like a fight is what I would do. Like, I will fight if we need to.
Yeah. Even
it's like Goodson. Like, Goodson has that same energy all the time. Just like
totally. But even when in the first, like, the Brooklyn Boston series, when the first two games were in Boston, Coach K and Shire went up, I think, for game 2 of that series, and Cornbread Maxwell was cutting it up with Coach K before the game. So Kinston getting a lot of love.
Cornbread always gets cut out of the discussion. They always list everybody and they forget him. Anything else you guys got, or should I leave you with this? I don't like the sub tweet or whatever, but I did see, let's just say, outlets or people pretending like they were just hearing for the first time that Coochie was a thing, which lets me know that like you don't follow the games that closely, because like if you were an actual fan, the team's been saying it. And I'm not above setting things up to look like it's, something that we learned on the air just for the selling of its sake. But it's like, come on, man. Like, we're not claiming that we started Coochie. We're claiming the team started it, and we are jumping on immediately.
We were on it seconds after Seth Jarvis said it in the post-game interview against the Islanders the other week.
Yes. Yeah. Coochie's not a name. It'd be lame if we tried to make the guy's nickname Coochie, right? We're just merely here to pass on the word that the team has dubbed it so.
We did do Young Tro, though. That was us.
That's true.
But Coochie, no, that was all the team. Yeah.
Yeah, Coochie's one that you got to let happen for somebody else. So, but yes, people were out here pretending like they were just hearing Coochie for the first time. We got another Coochie reference. Is he 3-0 now, technically?
Yeah, 3-0. Yep. 3 wins in 4 days.
Here's the latest from Rod Brendamore.
How's the job, man? How's the job? I got a little scary at the end, but what the hell? Made it interesting. Big goal, start the third, right? Win goal, do that. Division champs, okay? Great job. You guys should celebrate that. You guys earned it. You worked all year, right? Proud of the group. Good, big accomplishment. Obviously, we know it, but let's celebrate it tonight. Let's enjoy it. Great job. Coochie, way to go. Coochie,
It is not 1-2-3 Cancun for the Canes right now. It is 1-2-3 Stanley Cup.
I also love, like, every Brendamore locker room video is like that.
Dude,
it's like him pacing around like a maniac. And like half the time his dad is on speakerphone, but it's like every time I see a video behind the scenes of Brendamore locker room, I'm like, have I seen this before? And it's like, no, like he just hasn't got his like post game lifted yet. He's just like amped up, just yelling 4-letter words. It's incredible. That's every locker room video of Brendamore is him pacing around like a crazy person. And I love it. It's maybe my favorite thing about hockey in this game.
All right, we might have to make a TikTok video of this or something like here. Rod Brindamore video, just like, hey guys, I think in there selling it to me that it was Rod Brindamore saying coochie, but I think he just wanted to put it in there because Rod Brindamore cussed so much. I'm guessing it wouldn't. It's not. I would love for the Canes to have invented the goal scoring horn as the bleep button. I'm guessing it existed somewhere else in hockey before. Like it'd be too great, but I only know it through the Canes, and it's just amazing. And it's also like he's doing that, and it feels like he would give the speech in the same tone if they sucked ass, or like sometimes he's like being like really sentimental. He's like, guys, this is like your kids were watching there, David Ayers, this is amazing. Whereas it could be like, it's fucking ridiculous. You guys, you better clean it up. Like it feels like it's the same tone, same, whatever, as if he's like bringing tears or trying to like put fear in your heart. And I've been thinking, I was like, I don't know, maybe we need to do this or like tap somebody. Somebody needs to. I don't know how long Rod Brendan was going to be here. I hope it's freaking 20 years or whatever. And obviously, those are the things that like when it comes to the end, we're going to start placing him in like North Carolina sports figure history pretty high, right? Like just based on not many people are going to play and coach at the level he's going to. It's just like hard.
There's some like, is it the Walter Raleigh magazine? He's on the cover of some magazine I'm seeing all over Raleigh right now.
I don't know. Rod Brindamore is also old enough to have learned like some coochie. You might want to be careful. Don't run through a wall for all coochies. But this one we will run through a wall. Like unless Julius Peppers coaches the Carolina Panthers to like a 5-year playoff run, like it's just going to be tough to tout this. But in the moment, I feel like we need more reflection on what Rod has done. And Dundon deserves credit. Obviously, their era sort of began together, but like Dundon ultimately picked Rod, and then just the knowing almost, and also this is like gets a lot better if it ends with a Stanley Cup this year or the next year, whatever. But like knowing what was needed at the time, kind of, we talked about this, Swain, of like bringing Justin Williams in. Like first, we got to bring hockey back here. We got to make it cool again, fun again, good again, and then just every step of the way, And I just, it's a masterclass when you see professional sports that have, all the time you see what goes wrong with the Nets or the Lakers or whatever. Like it's just hard to like balance all the things of keeping people happy, making young guys better, making people feel comfortable, pushing people out of their comfort level to be better than they think they can be, dealing with people who don't know hockey, who are sometimes asking you questions. That's not a knock on beat writers or anything. I think we have great writers. I'm just saying, like, in Carolina, it's different, and you got to know it, right? And also, like, standing up for Carolina and whipping other, people who try and come in and talk smack. The job he has done is just incredible. And I need to come up with a better, more succinct monologue than that. But I'll run through a wall for Coochie and Rod Brindamore all the time. That's all I got.
Rod in the Hall of Fame, right? And aren't we like obligated to say that now or whatever?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I assume it's going to happen at some point, but it's ridiculous that it hadn't happened already. Playoffs start next week. I guess we won't find out until Saturday or Sunday what our playoffs.
Yeah, we need our playoff schedule so we can start grocery shopping and planning some
clearing out morning, like knowing which shows we're not going to do at 10 a.m. because we're not going to bed. All right, for Brian Geisker, Ben Swain, the Weather Moose, and Josh Goodson, this is Sports Channel 8. And for Coochie, we out.
Sports, when you've got a great ball club. Sports, when you're leaving it all on the field.